know what I think? I think life is like a grand chase to find the sweet spot. You know, the sweet spot between professional and personal life, the sweet spot between healthy food and junk food, and so on and so forth. But if we're talking about the Indian four-wheeler market, I think nothing exemplifies this sweet spot like the compact SUV segment. The perfect balance between India's affinity towards affordability and its love for SUVs. And in such a segment with such intense competition, Renault decided to open its act with this. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Kiger, and today we're going to be telling about what the car is all about, what it has to offer to an Indian driver, and whether you should get one of these home. Now, I know looks are subjective, but to my eyes, the Kiger actually scores handsomely in the design department. Now, many have said that this just looks like a beefed up Kwid, and the one question I want to ask is, how is that a bad thing? You see, the Kwid is actually a perfectly nice looking car, and if any learnings have been derived from that to the Kiger, I don't think it's a bad idea at all. The car gets sleek LED DRLs, and I like a few touches like the 3-pod LED headlamp that gives the car a premium appeal.
At the sides, the Kiger gets a sloping roofline, lending it that out of the normal sporty stance that's otherwise uncommon for an SUV. The lines are clean and nothing seems like it's trying hard to impress you.
Now at the back is where I think the Kiger looks the best. I mean, look at it. You pull up behind this SUV and won't this grab your attention? I think it will. It's got a boot stance with a muscular tail and a lot of sporty elements like the split spoiler on top and the C-shaped LED tail lights. Also, the reverse parking camera embedded right there in the Renault logo. I think it's a nice touch. Now, we have established that the Kiger looks impressive on the outside, but if you step inside the cabin, the story is a bit different and you're left wanting for a little more. Now, don't get me wrong, the fit and finish of material is quite laudable, but there's scratchy hard plastics almost everywhere and there's no splash of colors.
Elements like the AC control have been borrowed from the driver and it looks neat and good to use. We especially love the flat bottom steering wheel that feels good to the touch as well. In terms of technology, the car gets an 8-inch floating touchscreen infotainment system that comes with Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. The digital instrument cluster works like a charm and reads out the car information rather nicely. But if you actually look at it, there are a few misses as well. For instance, there is no option of a sunroof here, and features like the wireless charging pad are available with an accessory pack. Also, there is no TPMS, cruise control, or even ventilated seats.
Now, the Kiger scores especially well in terms of practicality as well. There is tons of space for storage over here. For example, you get a split glove box on the dash, you get a generous cubby hole in the middle, you get a small space for your knickknacks as well as 1-liter bottle pockets on each of the 4 doors. Now, if you're talking about seats, the seats are a bit firm for my taste, but it is not something that will tire you or make you feel uncomfortable during long drives. The seating position is quite commanding and will give you a better sense of control over your car. Now, in the back seat is where the Kiger actually shows off its SUV persona. Now, for reference, I am 5'7". The front driver seat has been set according to my height, and you can see that I have ample of knee room. Now, 3 passengers can be comfortably set abreast, and if you're seating 2, you also get a central armrest with 2 cup holders and a nifty pocket for your phone. Now, considering that this car does have a sloping roofline, Renault has done a good job in preserving the headroom as well. Now, anyone who is a little bit taller than me will want a bigger window for better visibility. Now, if you're talking about seats, the seats are comfortable. There is good lumbar support and thigh support as well, but it is reclined a bit too steep, but it's not something that will actually bother you even during long drives. Now, the boot, it doesn't just stop at being beautiful, it's quite useful as well. You see, the Kiger actually houses a segment-leading boot of 405 liters that can carry the luggage of a little over a weekend's trip worth of luggage. But what you must notice is that the boot lip is quite tall, which means it's going to take a bit of effort to load and unload your bags.
Not just that, the second row of seats can be folded, which means helping your friend move to a new house might not take a lot of trips. Now the CVT variant that we drove had the 1-litre turbocharged petrol engine that puts out 100 HP and 152 Newton meters of torque. Now it should be addressed that with the CVT option, the car outputs 8 Nm less torque than the manual version. But the power kicks in earlier in the RPM range and it's spread evenly throughout. Now I have driven the manual and the AMT versions before, and it really feels like the inconsistency in power delivery that I spotted before has been ironed out with the CVT. The CVT, in my opinion, is actually the perfect transmission if you're talking about city commute friendly SUVs.
Stop, 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 stop.
Also, the car gets 3 driving modes, that is Eco, Normal and Sport, that can be toggled with the help of this rotary knob near the gear lever. As the name suggests, Eco mode is aimed at returning more kilometers to the liter, where the engine becomes a bit lazy and the steering is light as well. The Sport, on the other end of the spectrum, brings in a sense of urgency and alertness. The gear shifts are late and there is a bit of weight that's added to the steering wheel as well. And so the Normal seemed like the perfect choice in the city, finding a perfect balance between Eco and Sport. Now Renault has done a commendable job with the suspension. The setup feels plush in the city while managing to retain the confidence-inspiring stability while attacking corners spiritedly. We were actually impressed with how minimal the body roll of the car is. Now the suspension is set up on a plush side, which means that most of the undulations are being absorbed by the suspension, but you can still hear the suspension being worked inside the cabin.
You know what? I'm just gonna say it. The Kiger is actually a damn good car. But what really seals the deal is its price tag that starts at 5.64 lakh rupees ex-showroom in India. For the money that you're paying, the Kiger actually shows its worth for every penny. Hence, got a compact SUV in your mind? Here's one you should not look away from.